Hello everyone, our names are Mike and Heather, and we recently did the Golden Triangle tour throughout India and had a fantastic time. In today's video, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Golden Triangle tour, what we did exactly on the tour, and our overall thoughts on the tour itself. So if you are thinking about doing the Golden Triangle tour through India, this video is for you.
So we went on a guided tour with On-the-Go Travels, but this is something that you could pretty easily do on your own if you decided that was the route you wanted to take. The Golden Triangle is a region that has 3 of the major cities in India, and the tourist route between them is why it's called a triangle, because geographically they make that shape on the map. Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur are the 3 cities that make up the Golden Triangle. These are going to be major cities that have a lot of infrastructure to support tourism, so they have hotels, restaurants, a good population of English-speaking people, so it's very easy to travel to, especially for Western tourists. We're really happy to have gotten to see the things about India that we had always heard of. The Taj Mahal, seeing some of the mosques and beautiful architecture, the bustling streets of Delhi. We got to do all of the things that were on our bucket list, and we're really happy with the route that we took.
We want to preface this by saying this is by no means an overall overview of everything you can do in India, because there's so much more in India than just the Golden Triangle. This is just a very popular tourist route and one where you can cover those iconic attractions in India like the Taj Mahal. So now that we've explained that the Golden Triangle is essentially a triangle route that you travel through India hitting those 3 major cities, we're going to dive into the itinerary itself that we followed.
For our tour, we flew into Delhi, we met a driver to take us to our hotel, and promptly crashed for the rest of that first day. So we had a bit of time built in to give us a chance to get over our jet lag, but the very next day started our real time in India, and we began with a food tour through Old Delhi.
We met our guide in the lobby of our hotel and took the metro into Old Delhi. We definitely suggest going on a food tour while you're in India because there's amazing food, especially the street food, and we highly recommend going with a guide. Not only will they show you all the best places to get food, but they're going to take you to the safe places to eat. And as Westerners, not being able to drink the water because we didn't grow up there, it's definitely something you want to consider, because the last thing you want to do on your trip to India is get sick. And thankfully, the entire time we were in India, we didn't get sick, even going on the amazing food tour through Old Delhi. So after we got off the metro, we promptly got into a rickshaw and made our way to the first couple street stalls.
This was one of the highlights of our trip, and one of the things that we were super excited to be able to do. Indian food is amazing. There are so many different flavors and combinations of spices and textures and just things that we don't have in a lot of our Western food. So to be able to try it authentically on the street was awesome. Going with a guide allows you to also get some historical context for the location as well as the types of food that you're eating. So that was something that was absolutely elevating to the tour overall, because you could just go and grab a lot of food off the street, which could be good, could be problematic if you go to a place and you end up getting sick, but because all of our stops had been properly vetted, we knew the food was safe to eat, and we got to know that we were going to places with some really great history. Most of the stalls that we stopped at had been there for over 100 years, which was really awesome to hear. And the tour was a great combination of walking and getting a feel for the streets and sidewalks of Delhi, as well as taking some electric rickshaws around. But we got to go to the spice market, we walked past the largest mosque in India, which is Jama Masjid, and of course we got to go to one of the staples in that part of the city, and that was Kareem's, which has a great history in the city and is just a super popular spot. And our guide said you can't say that you've been to Old Delhi without stopping at Kareem's, so we were really happy to have gotten a full experience from that on our very first day in the country.
The good thing about going on a food tour the very first day you arrive in a new country like India is you now have a pretty good idea of what to order going forward, what you like, what you didn't like, and you can really take advantage of knowing that, so that way every time you do order, you'll be able to continue eating your favorite meals. So our food tour lasted about the whole
6
entire
hours,
day.
yeah.
It was a really great food tour. We made our way back and crashed for the night and got up the next morning to explore more of Delhi.
The next day, which was our first official day on the tour, we loaded onto the bus and set out to explore Old Delhi as well as New Delhi. Delhi is a city with layers of history, quite literally. There have been so many different periods in the city's history, and they've built sort of one on top of each other. So there's a lot of different cultures represented in Old Delhi, And then New Delhi has some of the more modern government buildings that have been there for less than 100 years. So to get a full experience, you definitely want to spend time in each part of the city to get a better idea of where the city is at now and where it came from. To start our day, we took a bus over to the Red Fort, which is one of the most popular monuments in Delhi. From there, we took a cycle rickshaw back to Jama Masjid, which was where our food tour started in Old Delhi. We got to go in and explore the mosque. After we visited Jama Masjid, we took an electric rickshaw and a bus over to a Sikh temple, which, let me make sure I'm getting the pronunciation right, is Gurudwara Bangala Sahib, and that was absolutely incredible. It had a fantastic free kitchen that fed 25 to 30,000 people per day, all based on volunteer and charity work. And from there, we made our way over to Humayun's tomb.
Humayun's tomb is another must-see spot in Delhi, as it was the first garden dome in all of India.
There are elements that are said to have inspired the Taj Mahal, and you can see that in the construction of that location. The symmetry is out of this world, how precise it is, and incredible to see. That was actually our last stop on the first day. It was jam-packed, and we went from the early morning until the evening before we returned to our hotel. And that ended our time in Delhi before we got ready to head out to Agra.
The following day, we continued on through the triangle, so we left Delhi and headed out towards Agra. It was about a 4-hour bus ride, so it was pretty lengthy, but completely worth it once you get to the Taj Mahal. We stopped for a quick bite before we went to the Taj Mahal, and I'm happy to say that it completely lived up to its hype. Sometimes when you hear about these amazing places on Instagram or have read about it for so long, there's no way that they could ever live up to the hype because you've built it up so much in your head. But again, happy to report the Taj Mahal is truly spectacular and completely lived up to the hype, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it was maybe the most beautiful building I've ever seen. It is unbelievable, the craftsmanship and level of detail that exists in that building. You have time tickets, so I think you're only allowed to be there for 3 hours, so make sure that you are aware of that before you go. And it's also an additional ticket cost to go up onto the Taj Mahal to be able to go into the platform and actually explore inside of the building itself, where they do not allow photographs. We went in the evening. It was very busy, which there's no question it is deserving of the hype and all of the tourist activity. But if you want it a little bit more quiet, you may want to get there as early as possible.
This is an area of the tour where we do wish that there was a little bit more tweaking. So if you are planning your own itinerary of the Golden Triangle, here's some things that we suggest. One, definitely take the full 3 hours that you're there, because with our tour, we cut it a little bit short and we definitely feel like we could have spent even longer there. The second thing is try to get there early. So like Mike said, because we had a long bus ride in the beginning of the day, we did get there in the afternoon/evening time. So it was very, very busy by that point of the day. And if we could do it again or on our own time, we definitely would have preferred going in the morning at sunrise where there's less people and you get those beautiful golden hues coming across the Taj Mahal. And the third thing you might want to consider is seeing it both in the morning and during the day, because it does change colors based on the stone and how it's being illuminated throughout the day. So if we could, we probably would have still gone in the afternoon when we did, but then also went again the next morning for that beautiful sunrise Taj Mahal experience.
After an incredible time seeing the Taj Mahal, we had about a 5-minute bus ride back over to our hotel. It wasn't too far away. This was one of the nicest hotels that we stayed in on our trip.
Everything was marble.
Yeah, Agra is known for its marble, and that was evident in the hotel room. There was so much of it there, and it just was such a cool experience to be able to stay there. And it was a great way to end our day after a long day of travel and one of the most amazing views that we've ever seen. The following day, we woke up in Agra for another busy day of exploring and also some driving. We started the day off by going to the Agra Fort, which was absolutely incredible. There was beautiful Mughal architecture, and it was such a cool experience to be able to walk through that building. After exploring the Agra Fort, we went over to a local marble workshop where we got to see the craftsmen working the different marble to put inlay in and create some of the different things that were similar to what we saw on the Taj Mahal. A lot of the people who work at that shop are descendants of the original craftspeople that worked on the construction of the Taj Mahal. So there was some great family history. We learned a lot about marble work in general and had the opportunity to get some authentic marble crafts while we were there.
After a little bit of shopping, we hopped on the bus and started to make our way out towards Jaipur, but didn't quite get there. We stopped halfway in between in Karauli. To get out to Karauli, however, it wasn't necessarily all highways like it was between Delhi and Agra. It was country roads, specifically one country road that didn't have any lanes. Traffic was going both ways, and it was definitely an experience.
Yeah, it was similar to how traffic moved in Delhi, where you kind of flow around the slower moving vehicles by going into the other lane, but there were vehicles doing the same thing going the other way. So it seemed a little bit hectic, but no issues there, and we made our way into Karauli, where we stayed at the Maharaja's Palace for the night.
A Maharaja would historically have been a local king, and so we got to stay at the local Maharaja's palace and actually got to meet the Maharaja himself.
Yeah, it was a really awesome stay. It was so different from anything else we had experienced up to that point. The grounds were beautiful. We got to see the farm that was there, some of the museum of different antique items from the Maharaja's family's history, exploring the beautiful palace, and of course talking to the Maharaja himself were such great experiences.
After a very delicious dinner with our group at the Maharaja's palace, we hit the hay for the night to get up bright and early the next morning as we explored the town of Karauli itself.
We made our way over to the city palace, which was undergoing reconstruction, and a lot of that has been championed by the Maharaja's wife. There was a museum that they had put together to explain the history of the palace, and getting to walk through the structure itself was really incredible. There was beautiful tile work.
My favorite part was being able to walk through the streets of Karauli. After visiting Delhi and Agra, we were in a lot of like the large cities and kind of got that vibe already, but being able to walk through one of the smaller towns like Karauli and seeing everyday life in India was a really amazing experience. And that's what we did as we made our way back to the bus to head towards Jaipur.
After we left Karauli, we had another fairly long bus ride back into Jaipur, and we got to our hotel for the evening where we were able to rest up and get ready for a very busy day in Jaipur the following day.
The next day, we spent the day exploring Jaipur, which is personally my favorite city of the three on the Golden Triangle that we visited. It's absolutely stunning with all of the pink buildings. Jaipur is also known as the Pink City because of this. A fun fact we learned is that the buildings themselves aren't made of pink sandstone, which was my initial thought. They were actually painted pink, but the entire city is just absolutely beautiful. We started the morning by visiting the Taj Mahal, which is the #1 Instagram spot in all of India.
We got to go there and join the crowds, engaging with that, taking a couple of pictures before we jumped back on the bus and headed over to the Agra Fort.
The Agra Fort sits on top of a hill. I almost would say mountain because it's really steep. And the way that you get up to the city palace is one, either walking all the way up that very steep hill, or two, a fun Jeep ride, which is what our tour opted for. So we got to hop in the back of Jeeps and drive up the really bumpy, windy, steep hills all the way to the city palace.
Once we got inside, it was absolutely stunning, which we were saying about all of the spots that we've gone to, but really the architecture in India is so incredible. The detail, the craftsmanship, the unbelievable shapes and structures really were some of the highlights of our trip, to just go and be in these places. But we got to take a tour through the city palace and see the different layers of history there as it's been built on over the course of hundreds of years. So it was awesome to see those different elements as we made our way through the building. Once we finished our tour of the city palace, we made our way back down in the Jeeps, which was another awesome experience, and made our way back over into the city proper. Along the way, we stopped at the Water Palace, and another one of our favorite stops during our time in India was a textiles workshop that is something Jaipur is very well known for.
While we were there, we got to get a demonstration of how the textile prints are made, which is through block printing, and we got to try it as well. So we got a little demonstration and then got to try our own hand in it, and it's a lot harder than it looks. There we got to see local artisans also create rugs and other masterpieces with different textiles, and of course got to do a little bit of shopping.
From the workshop, we made our way back into the downtown city area to go to the Jaipur City Palace. We got to explore the beautiful structure there and then make our way over to the observatory, which had some incredible astrological and astronomical equipment. And after visiting the sculpture park, we returned to our hotel to end our time in Jaipur before getting ready to head back to Delhi. I will say, At all of the locations, we had our local guide who was with us throughout the entirety of this trip, and also a few specific guides at certain locations to be able to speak more in depth. Visiting all of these locations was elevated by the presence of a guide to learn more and understand the context and the history of these locations. I definitely would recommend going with a guide to these locations so you have a better sense of the history that you're seeing.
Yeah, even if you're not on a full guided tour like we did, where we had a guide with us every single day, definitely recommend still opting for guides at each of the tourist locations themselves, just so you can really appreciate where you are and appreciate the history that is there.
After we spent the day in Jaipur, the following morning we loaded up on the bus and made our way back to Delhi. That was sort of the official end of our tour, was that last day from Jaipur to Delhi. The following day, a lot of our group left, but we still had one more day in the city of Delhi to explore. The next day, we woke up bright and early before the sun to go for a morning bike ride through the streets of Old and New Delhi, which was one of our favorite experiences. If you're on the fence, I definitely would recommend doing it. It wasn't as perilous as you would think it would be. We always felt safe, and going at the end we had a better sense of how Delhi traffic works, so we weren't nervous to get on the bikes and explore, and we got to learn more about the history of some of the locations we went to while having a really unique experience.
And just feeling like you're part of the hustle and bustle of it all.
Once we finished up there, we actually were able to jump into a rickshaw to get back to our hotel location. Riding in a rickshaw was one of our India bucket lists. It was just a super exciting ride across the city, and we had the rest of the day to relax and pack before we left India the following day on an early flight out.
And that kind of wraps up what we did on the Golden Triangle. So if you are looking for ideas for your itinerary, those are some of the must-do and most popular spots on the Golden Triangle. We would have loved more time to explore more of India, but with our very short window of time off, we're Americans, and most of the times you're only really going to get a 2-week time off block. So we think that the Golden Triangle is really great if you don't have a lot of time to explore and you want to hit all the main points.
So with the Golden Triangle, one of the criticisms is that it is for tourists, which is true in a sense, but I wouldn't let that discourage you from going. A lot of the things that you think of when you think of India from a Western perspective are there. So if you're wanting to see the Taj Mahal, or you're wanting to explore Old Delhi, or see some of the beautiful sights in Jaipur, that's where you find all of them. So I wouldn't feel ashamed by going to those places, because all of the stops we went to were beautiful and places that we had dreamt of going to see ever since we started thinking about international travel. But just know that there is a lot more to India than these sort of tourist destinations, and it'll 100% be worth your time to investigate those.
The Golden Triangle is a really great glimpse of India, but it doesn't embody everything that India has to offer. And if we could, we would have added on, at the very least, something that a lot of other people in our group did, which was dipping down to the national park and going to see the tigers. So that's a really easy add-on that a lot of people do with the Golden Triangle tour, or they go up into like the Himalayas, which would have also been very cool.
Yep.
So if you're planning on doing a Golden Triangle tour, I would definitely recommend trying to add on some of the national park with the tigers, or going up to the north.
We just didn't have time for it on this trip, but you can bet it's on our bucket list to go back and check out when we get the chance.
In this video, we kind of gave an overview of our itinerary, just for those who maybe need some ideas for their Golden Triangle itinerary, but we did break down every single day that we did discuss in a vlog series that will link down below, so that way you can see day to day what it looked like to experience the Golden Triangle. We'll also link down below the exact tour that we went on if you are interested in a guided tour, or if you're interested in taking the parts out of the itinerary that you're interested in. We'll link all that down below. If you do have any questions about our time in the Golden Triangle, feel free to drop them down below and we'd be more than happy to answer them. Or if you have suggestions on other places that we could go to India when we're there in the future, please leave those down below as well. In the meantime, thank you all for watching. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I'm living my best life. I wake up with the sunrise. It does not look a thing like I thought that it would, but I've been getting my steps in, and I sleep with my best friend. It's the best that it has been in a long time. I'm living my best.